everyone, it's Laura Myers for CMS-Connected. Influencer marketing has been a hot topic these past few years, but I often wonder if its popularity is more driven out of novelty than results. And what are the risks lurking in the shadows that may be affecting a business's bottom line if they're not deploying their strategy with all things considered? Here with me to discuss these points is Mitch Fanning, VP of Marketing at Clickback. Hello Mitch, how's your day going today?
Very good, Laura. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, thank you for asking. Why don't we start by you giving us an overview of your thoughts on influencer marketing and the inherent risk people may not yet associate with it?
Well, first, before we get into the risks, I just want to quickly say that I'm not like an expert in influencer marketing. Like obviously we do referral marketing and we do channel marketing at Clickback. But I just kind of want to kind of get that off my chest. And also too, before I get into the inherent risks, I'm a strong advocate in that the fact that there's not like a silver bullet when it comes to marketing. So, that's kind of one of the inherent risks with any type of marketing or any type of channel is that people tend to focus too much or they kind of double down on something where they should be looking at various factors or various channels as well. But the other thing too is that it's interesting that influencer marketing isn't really anything new. It's really just paid advertising with a celebrity endorsement. It's I think you can go back to the 60s. Maybe I'm dating myself a bit, but the advertorial, it was kind of, sponsored content, sponsored. So that's kind of the first thing. But I think if we get into the inherent risks of that actual particular tactic, it can be short-lived. And what I mean by that is depending on who the influencer is, if it's someone who has a big social media following, it's like one piece that they're sharing. They're kind of integrating it into either their channel or if they're a podcaster, they're kind of talking about it, but then they kind of quickly move on. So it can kind of get lost in the shuffle. So that's from a marketer point of view, that's kind of one. And the other thing too is, and it depends on how you structure it. Again, we haven't really experimented with influencer per se, but I would assume that you kind of have that loss of control. So when you're, telling people, you can't really allow them to script it too much. Once you kind of tell them to kind of share it, it's really going to be in their hands and how they decide to do that. So as a marketer, you want to kind of control that message, and it kind of that's the biggest risk is will they convey it in the way that you want? I think, but in the grand scheme of things, the biggest risk is that trust isn't really non-transferable. And what I mean by that is you're relying on someone who's actually built trust with their audience to recommend your product or service, thinking that trust will actually transfer to your product or service. And that's just not the case. You can't buy trust at the end of the day. You kind of have to earn it. The other risk on the flip side is that influencers really need to show relevance. If they're kind of shilling something that isn't relevant to their audience, they can quickly lose that trust of their audience.
Trust and relevance are great points to bring up actually. When I think about influencers that I see on various platforms, if all of a sudden they're promoting a product or service that's completely out of their realm, I often find myself thinking, oh cool, they sold themselves out.
Yeah, they sold themselves out, and then you're like, okay, well, you either skip or you quickly move on. So, or it's not authentic. It's just not authentic.
Yes, you definitely lose a bit of that trust. Why do you think influencer marketing has become so popular? Do you think it's more driven by novelty at this point, or would you say there's enough tangible evidence to prove it truly effective?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's popular because it can work. And really, the way it works, if you kind of take that paid endorsement out of the that aspect out of the picture, if someone that you trust is recommending something, then you are inclined and they are actually using it and you feel like it's authentic and it's relevant, then yeah, you may check it out. But at the end of the day, I think the best type of referral strategy is to really just have a really good product or service, one that people either use often, or in some cases, if it's consumer facing, they love. So, I mean, if that's the case, and you are able to connect with the right influencers, then it's going to work. And I think that's why it's again, it's popular, but because it can work in that case. I think the reason why you've seen such a rise is the macro trend of just social media and new channels that have like grown over the last 10 years. It started kind of blogging, it kind of went to YouTubers, and now podcasting has kind of come up and down. It kind of was popular, and now it's then it kind of settled down, and then it kind of now it's making I wouldn't say a comeback, but it's more people are kind of getting into it that maybe weren't before. So I think that's typically why it's popular, because number one, it can work, and just because of that macro trend that we've seen in terms of the adoption of social media and new media over the last 10 years. But again, nothing new. It's been around for a while. So yeah.
Also a great point to make that its popularity has risen simply in conjunction with the rise of social media. On that note, do you think it's better suited for the B2C space, or should be cautiously implemented in the B2B space? My personal take is it's better in B2C because of the social media aspect, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts if there's a better place for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's better for B2C, but again, that's really just my assumption. I really haven't tested that, with our marketing team. But again, I kind of look at influencer and referral marketing like as interchangeable in some cases. Again, there's different shades of gray there, but referral channels can do well for in the B2C space or in the B2B space, and I think it's okay to experiment. But again, no silver bullet. Trust needs to be is not transferable. So again, I guess the short answer is it can work for both. Just depends on the things that I've just kind of outlined and how you go about it and doing it correctly.
The other topic I love to debate with influencer marketing is on lead gen versus revenue gen. Some think the end goal is too focused on just generating leads, taking away from the importance of a revenue generation strategy as well. What approach do you recommend marketers take to accomplish both?
Well, again, I kind of have to take a step back from that question, because if you're creating an assumption without looking at the right metrics, and the metrics that we typically look at are revenue and ROI from marketing sources. And typically I say on the team, like, follow the money and the leads will follow. So we look at where revenue is coming from and we try to optimize that. So in this case, if you're doing influencer marketing and you don't really have the right fundamentals and you're not looking at the right metrics, then yeah, in some cases leads can be seen as a vanity metric. So again, you can apply that across all channels, not just influencer marketing. So that's the thing is that if you're using influencer marketing for lead gen, then again, you're kind of as a marketer, you're cutting yourself short. You should be looking at really where's the revenue, where's the customers coming from. So again, it really doesn't matter which channel you look at. If you're going to implement influencer marketing, you have to look at those metrics that I just discussed.
Great point. Well, that was fantastic, Mitch. You answered all the questions I had for you today. Thanks so much.
Great. That was simple.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. That was Mitch Fanning, VP of Marketing at Clickback, discussing the trend of influencer marketing and why marketing teams should really spend time kicking the tires on it to ensure it is the best fit as a component of their overall strategy. For all that and more in the wide world of digital marketing, make sure you're always checking right back here at CMS-Connected.